historic neighborhoods. I mean, are people, they're really kind of, you have to look pretty closely, but I think there's really a lost art here of the duplex in Flagstaff. I mean, it's sort of the first quick pass, going through a neighborhood, you wouldn't really notice it, but there's really a large number of these really great duplex housing types that fit in really great with the primarily single-family neighborhoods. And so, thinking about resurrecting this lost art of the duplex building, creating the duplex building type, or townhousing, just looking to provide choices. That's really, it's really what the regional plan is about, the T&D ordinance is about, and the zoning code. We're not wanting to force anybody to live a specific lifestyle, whether it be sort of rural, sort of a more walkable community. We want to provide choices. And so by sort of reintroducing these types of sort of townhouse building types and other medium density types, it's about providing choice. Give people the choice to either live in a walkable community or potentially a more rural context. And this, you might get a little bit of a chuckle out of this, and you may have a hard time kind of seeing the real merit in this, but I actually thought this was a really intriguing building. This is in south of downtown. It was intriguing to me for a couple of reasons. I think we can actually learn a lot from this building type in terms of the history of this place and what south of downtown may want to sort of evolve into. I think the first thing that intrigued me, well, first of all, is just the kind of the real beauty and rawness of the materials. That's really evident in a lot of the buildings in this really rustic stone. But the fact that this, it's a single family detached, but this thing is really, it's shoved to basically the front property line. And it actually is, you can imagine a series of these housing types marching along the street. It actually would make for a really neat neighborhood, a really great street. And this could be a great side yard. So there's something to learn. Like, we really sort of need to study these and learn from these, sort of extract information out of them. Block and subdivision standards, this is simply about looking at larger lots and the real necessity to break those large lots down into streets and blocks. And your T&D ordinance has those regulations, and we're going to look to enforce those within larger lots. Obviously, smaller infill lots, it won't apply, but once you get beyond a certain threshold, you begin to break those down for connectivity through those project areas. And then administration. We've heard over and over, both from the staff as well as people who have been through the sort of the entitlements process, that the process is really hard to understand, it's really complicated, and it's not predictable. So one thing we're really going to look at is what is the process by which this code is administered and reviewed. And we really take a lot of effort in actually mapping out a process from sort of the initial application down to the specific type of entitlement that the property owner is going to want to get. And it's likely going to be different based on types of projects, the scales of projects, but we want to think very carefully about that. It's really one of the primary issues we need to address in this code update in terms of the clarity and predictability of the process, both from the property owner standpoint, but also from the community standpoint in terms of what is the ultimate result of that code. I call these optional components because they're not necessary in a form-based code, but they're really important to supplement it. In Flagstaff's instance, we're actually going to be addressing, I would say, all of these to some extent within the code, so it's going to be a really comprehensive application of the different elements of form-based coding. I like to use Mr. Potato Head. Actually, one of our clients gave us this, sort of after we used it in presentations. This is the 50th anniversary of Mr. Potato Head. But what the form-based coding really is about is it's defining a good-looking potato, the right intended potato, sort of that urban form that really is most important in terms of reinforcing a walkable environment. And all the little pieces, the nose, the pad, the eyes, that's really it's the architecture, it's the green building elements. They're important, but the most important thing is that potato. And we need to work with you to decide sort of the importance of the different elements and which elements we're actually going to place on that potato. So I like to use that analogy because I think people often confuse form-based codes with architectural guidelines, and it's not guidelines because guidelines are somewhat optional. It's really form-based coding is the the alternative to the zoning code. So it's defining the grades. Okay, sources for form-based code. So if you want to go get on the internet and do some research and do some homework as this process evolves, you can buy our form-based code book at our website, which is opticosdesign.com, or you can go to amazon.com, has it as well. I wish I could say go to your local bookstore and buy this, but I should actually go there and ask them to actually buy it, because I would recommend you buy it from your local bookstore first and foremost, but you can buy it on either our website or Amazon. If you need additional information, I'm actually doing a webinar on May 22nd through the Form-Based Code Institute. It's going to be me and two other of my colleagues, a land use attorney and a planner out of Florida, doing a webinar, which will be a really good resource for additional form-based coding information. In terms of the smart code and the transect, smartcodecentral.com is the main resource for the smart code, which is a specific type of form-based code that we'll likely be using, because that's what the traditional neighborhood development ordinance, that's the framework of that. So we're likely to just build upon that. And then, you know, if you're really crazy about form-based coding, the Congress for New Urbanism is having their their annual conference in Denver in early June, and I've worked with them to actually put 7 now form-based code sessions. So you can basically go through the entire conference and go from form-based code session to session and learn a lot of different things about different types of applications and different sort of technical aspects of form-based coding. Yes.
2 brochures on the Denver conference that we read up here on the table.
Look that up as well. So I'm just going to go over calendar and timing, and I'm going to open up to questions and answers. So we're here now in May, doing a kickoff workshop and stakeholder interviews. We come back in early July to discuss our analysis. Late September, early October for this 4-day design charrette. Mid-November and mid-January to discuss the drafts of the code components with you. And then we're looking at a target right now, which is it's concrete. It's not pretty concrete. The code is going to be done in May of 2010 in terms of the complete public review draft. That will sort of be the code out there for the entire public to comment upon. I'm going to open it up for questions, but I realize that in my sort of nervousness, a little bit of stage fright early on, I forgot to introduce the other Opticos colleagues are here. So John Mickey is the project manager for Opticos, and James Stanton is here with Opticos as well. He looks a little bit sunburned. He was out today photographing and forgot about the elevation. And the strong sun, even though